And I also know, as someone who's very much of a hardcore DIYer at heart and a perfectionist also, which are like two things that make it really difficult personality wise for me to have gotten on the train and decided to outsource and hire help. It was something, to be honest, that I resisted for a really long time. I, had this opinion that, hiring help was kind of admitting defeat. It was, kind of like, admitting that I just couldn't do it all. And I just kind of looked at, getting extra people to help me with certain things as my business as like a failure on my part, as something that, if I just worked just a little bit harder, or, if I took less days off, or, if I just worked 90 hours a week, then, I wouldn't have these issues. I should be able to do it all myself. And so I was very resistant to outsourcing for a long time. And so I'm going to share a lot of tips and tricks of, one, how I got to the point where I realized how important and amazing outsource is. And now I'm just like total, outsourcing evangelist. I think it's like one of the absolute best things that you can do as a small business owner. Anytime anyone asks me, what are like some of the biggest things that led to you being successful, outsourcing is always at the very top of that list. It is, in the top two for sure of the things that have taken me from just kind of, doing okay, but doing fairly like status quo or maybe struggling, to just like feeling like I really have the ability to be successful. And I think like outsourcing really has been absolutely game changing for me, which is why I'm excited to talk about it. And I've also learned a ton along the way. I've made mistakes when hiring people. I've, made mistakes, when training people. I have, gone through all these ups and downs and challenges with outsourcing, with hiring help. So I just want to like share all the tips that I have. So thanks for you guys in the Facebook group joining live. If you have questions while I'm talking, just like drop it in the chat, and I'll occasionally like check in there and check it out. So I'm super excited. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I just first wanted to mention some of the best things to outsource. As a photographer, some really common things. How do you figure out like what are candidates for stuff that would be really good for outsourcing? So I think the two things to really think about when you're starting to make a list of like, okay, I feel like I don't have enough time in the day to do things that I need to do to be successful in my business. And I just feel like I'm drowning in all these other tasks. And if you want to just like start prioritizing, I definitely recommend systematizing it, writing things down, writing down a list of everything that you do on a weekly basis. So if, today is Thursday, start writing down today, like all the things that you're just doing on a weekly basis. And specifically, if you can start time tracking, if you can start writing down what tasks you're doing. And it's a little bit tedious, but if you literally do this for 1 week that you feel like is a typical week for you, it can be extremely eye-opening and really give you amazing answers of like, wow, I am spending 25 hours emailing. I'm spending 25 hours just in my inbox every week. That is insane. Like what would happen if I got some help with that? What, if I could get 15 or 20 of those hours back, what would that mean for my business? What would that mean for my ability to do these marketing things that I know that I've been needing to do, that I know would be game changing for me, that I know would help me get more clients, but I just haven't had time to do? That's the magic and the power of outsourcing. So things to think about in this first week when you are doing this exercise of trying to figure out what are the best tasks for you to outsource, because it's very different for every single person. So I can share a lot on like what I outsource and what I have outsourced. I'm going to tell you guys about a whole bunch of that stuff, but it's super important that you got to make it work for you and your lifestyle design. Everyone is in kind of a different position of how many hours per week that they want to work or can work, with other commitments. Maybe you're running your business only part-time right now and you have another full-time job, or maybe you're taking care of your kids at home, or, you have tons of other commitments and it's not, you're not able to work on your business 90 hours a week, which I can tell you I don't recommend. Full stop. Don't do that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and dive right in. So spend a week time tracking all of your tasks and write down how much time you're spending on each like category of work, because there's so much that goes into being a photographer. I know, having been self-employed and been a photographer for 10 years, it really kind of blows the mind of, people when they meet you for the first time. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced this as photographers of saying, oh, I'm a photographer. Like, that's what I do for work. And they're like, oh my gosh, how great, just getting to spend your time taking photos of beautiful people in love. Like, you must have the dream job. And I always think to myself, that's about like 5% of my job. That time that I spend is like 5, maybe 10% maximum of the amount of time that I'm spending on running a business. And it's, it's hard, it's challenging, because you likely like didn't get into photography because you love emailing and you love sitting in front of a computer for 90% of your life. Like likely you got into it because you like taking photos of people and doing the photography part. But people who run their own photography business know that's seriously such a small percentage of, what you're spending your day to day and your week to week on. And so it's different. Everyone has a different workflow. Everyone is more or less efficient on things like emails and editing. So what you need to outsource is going to be unique to you. Best way to do it, time track it for an entire week, and then just start listing out by the number of hours that you're spending on each task per week. Prioritize those. So this is the most time consuming task for me right now in my business. This is the second most one, the third most one. And then go through each of those tasks and also think and ask yourself the question, what are tasks that really, really, actually, absolutely, I have to be doing it. Absolutely has to be me. There's no way that I could ever train anyone else to do it. And when I first started asking myself these questions about outsourcing, I can say from kind of a pride and an ego perspective, I was like, no one can answer emails like I can. No one can edit like I can. No one can write an Instagram caption like I can. Nobody could do anything. I have to do it all. It has to be me because I'm amazing. And so I can say, one, it's just not true. It's not true that like I am the only person that can do all the tasks related to my business. What I have found, the truth through outsourcing, is there are tons of people that can do the things that I do. There's a lot of people that can do the things that need to be done for my business better than I can. And as someone who's a perfectionist and just a hardcore DIYer, I've always loved doing things for myself. And I have this perspective, like, if it is possible, if anyone can do it, then I can do it. And like that's a good thing. And I feel like a lot of small business owners and photographers like can have that similar perspective. You have to wear many hats and you can be very, very good at all of it. But that doesn't mean that it's still not a super good idea for you to get help and to outsource. And the thing is, my favorite mantra when it comes to outsourcing that I'm just going to repeat multiple times throughout this live, because really thinking through and actually understanding these words have been game changing for me for figuring out, how I can get stuff off of my plate and live a better life and have better work-life balance and be able to grow my business at the same time. And these simple words it's just 3 words, or I guess it's 4. Done is better than perfect. I guess that's 5 words, sorry. Done is better than perfect. And so think about all the things like in your business and in your life right now that, because there's only 24 hours in a day and you need to sleep for some of those because you're a human being just like me and everyone else. None of us can work for 24 hours a day for very long without like going mentally insane. Think about all the things that you just don't have time for. Honestly, like the things that like, man, if I just did a little bit more of this, I know my business could grow. Man, if I just was, had a little bit more time to do this and that, I know I could be getting more bookings. And like that frustration, think about all those things that, because of the workload that you currently have, you're doing your best. Everyone is doing the best that they absolutely can. It's not an admission of failure. It's not an admission that you're not good enough. It's not saying you necessarily need to work harder. I mean, sure, there are some people in the world that could probably work harder than they do, but in general, almost every single photographer that I've met is a genuinely hardworking person who's super motivated, and they're just running into the issue of like, there's not enough hours in the day to do what I need to do. And so think about all the things that, because of that time constraint, because you're just one single person right now, if you're not outsourcing, all of the things that you can't do. And think about, wouldn't it be great if those things got done? And maybe wouldn't, and think about how much better, what percent better would it be that those things got done versus not getting done? Even if they were done 90% correctly, or even 80% correctly, or even 50% correctly, how much infinitely better would getting those things done rather than not done be? Like, done is so much better than perfect for the task that you're currently doing and for the task that you currently can't get done, both of those. And like really thinking that through is honestly one of the most game-changing mantras for myself. And I still tell myself that every single time that I'm like, I don't have enough time for this and feeling super stressed out. I think, is there someone that could help me to just get this done? And, you know, even if it was 90% of the way that I would have done it, that doesn't mean that it's imperfect. First of all, it means it was done differently than I would be doing it, but it would be getting done. And how, you know, how many more bookings that could result in for me, or how many more hours back of my life would that result in for me? Outsourcing is all about return on investment, which I actually just made a super quick spreadsheet to calculate return on investment for outsourcing, specifically for editing, but you can use it for other things. I'll just share it with you guys, give it a link. It took me like 20 minutes to put together, but you can have it. It's cool. We'll go over that in a second. And so anyway, that was just a little rant about why I am such an evangelist about outsourcing, because it has really, really changed me. And I feel like if a person like me, who is as perfectionistic and as hardcore of a DIYer, can learn how to outsource, I really think almost anyone can. I seriously mean, it was a huge struggle for me, but it's been life-changing. Okay, so let's get back to how you figure out when you need to outsource and what you need to outsource. So you've gone through a week, you've time tracked all of the tasks that you're doing, you've identified the most time-consuming tasks, and you've also looked through that list, and you have, and you have honestly looked at them and you know, asked yourself the question: do these things absolutely need to be done by me? And the other question to ask yourself is, like, if I could find someone who, you know, tomorrow could do these things and they would be 90% perfect or 80% perfect, how much time would it take me to get them from that 80 to 90% to 100%? And that's the key here. I think that's another really big barrier with people and photographers that I see all the time, very resistant to outsourcing, of just like, no, like, let's just use editing for an example, because I think editing is one of the most no-brainer things that I genuinely think almost every single photographer, I could make a very good argument that you should be outsourcing your editing, because it fits all the categories of the type of task that is perfect outsource. It is time consuming. It does not have to be done by you. And it is so cheap to find someone who can edit. Like the average cost right now, because I, you know, looked at this before doing this, this video on outsourcing, the average cost right now, kind of across the board for outsourcing edits, is about like 39 cents an image. Like, I've seen that, you know, as kind of a standard price from a lot of editing companies, to take an image in Lightroom, edit it with your preset, get it to a point where it's ready to deliver. Yes, it would be more if you wanted, if you wanted like a lot of spot retouching done, if you're talking about Photoshop and, you know, actions and those kind of things, yes, that can be more money. But just like, let's talk about wedding photography for a second, really simple. Let's say you have a wedding that you need to edit and has 500 images in it, and you're editing it all mostly in Lightroom. So let's just use that as an argument, right? Let's just use that as an argument right now. So essentially, editing is super time consuming. It is so easy to find someone who can do it to a place that is 90% as perfect as you would edit it. And just think about, you know, when I get galleries back from my editor that I outsource, it takes me 30 to 45 minutes to go through that entire gallery and take it from the place that she has it, which is about 90% perfect of exactly how I would have edited it, and get it to a place where I am 100% happy with it. And it is just as high quality. And I would argue actually more high quality than it would have been if I had edited each photo from scratch. And let me explain why. And I think this happens with a lot of tasks, not just editing, but editing is a super good example. When I edit a gallery, let's say it's a 500 image gallery, you know, and I go through it, you know, I've already edited a sneak peek, you know, I'm going through and making sure all the skin tones are consistent throughout the whole gallery. You know, there's tons of different lighting situations, so I'm using different presets and different ways of editing, and I'm tweaking everything, making the whole thing look super good. So I'm taking each individual image from scratch, from a base 0 level raw image to 100% perfect. And I do that one after the other on 500 images, and it takes time, and it is tiring, it is exhausting. It's, you know, one of the most time-consuming processes is post-production for photographers and for videographers, and it takes a lot of time. And, you know, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but gotten to, you know, the last like 50 images of a wedding and just been so fatigued and been like, yeah, like these reception photos, I remember this shooting big weddings, like, they look good, they look fine. No, they're not like the best, most Instagram worthy photo ever, but, you know, it was dark, they were flash, like it's good, it is there. And I don't know if you've also experienced looking at a gallery that you edited maybe a week ago and being like, and opening it one more time and being like, oh, I like had that white balance slightly off there. Like I need to go back in and tweak that and fix it, because you just didn't see it the first time around, because you were taking a raw image from base 0 to, you know, what you're aiming for is perfection and for high quality, beautiful photos. But sometimes it's just, it takes looking at it a couple of times to see those small percentage increase in quality over time. It's not something you maybe don't see right off the bat because you're taking an image from raw to amazing. What I have found is when I get galleries back from my editor that I have outsourced, I'm looking at the images, one with a super fresh set of eyes. I haven't spent 10 to 12 hours already editing this gallery, and I'm already feeling just like, I've stared at these skin tones for hours. Like I can't even quite see the white balance anymore. It's been a lot. I'm looking at it with a completely fresh set of eyes. I'm also looking at images that have already been taken from ground zero to 90%. And I'm looking at them, and all I have to do now, and it's fun, it's actually fun to go through a gallery that's like 90% there. And I didn't have to put any of the work to get it to that, to that point. And I spend 30 to 45 minutes, maximum an hour, to go through a gallery of 500 images and, you know, just look at the little minute differences. Have been like, oh, okay, that white balance, now that I'm looking at all of this together, they're already pretty much done and edited, like that's just slightly too warm. So I'm going to fix that. Where honestly, I may not have seen that if I had been editing the gallery myself. And that's what I mean by, I actually believe that my quality of my edits of full galleries have actually improved since I started outsourcing, not lowered. And I think that's a huge concern of photographers who are really resistant to outsourcing of, I can't let go of my quality control. Here's the thing, you don't necessarily have to if you're outsourcing. It does not mean that you can't go back over people's work and do a quality control check to make it better, and think about how much less time that would take you than taking every image from scratch. This is the same thing with blog writing or with other things. You know, you can have people do the bulk of the work to draft stuff for you and get it 90% of the way there. And you can look at it with a fresh set of eyes, and it's like 2 awesome quality people are working on it instead of 1. And I do believe that in so many cases, it results in a higher quality end product to outsource, not a lower quality. So that is something that I wanted to share as well. So the best things to outsource are time consuming. They are cheap to get other people to do. They're also things that are really good to outsource are, if you think about all of the tasks that we have to do as business owners, you know, we have to wear many hats all the time. And to be, you know, honest, like no person, including me, is a 1,000,000% expert on every single one of the 1,000 tasks that we have to do to run a successful business. The cool thing about outsourcing is it's kind of an economies of scale principle, which if you've ever taken an economics class, you understand what that means. And what that means is, you know, back in the olden days, you know, it was kind of like everyone was a DIYer. Everyone was a, you know, was a homesteader. You grew your own food. You did all the things that you were self-sustaining as a person. But when civilization happened, the idea of economics is like each person does the thing that they are the most good at and the most efficient at. And you get people that, you know, for them, editing all day, every day is literally all that they do. And they are super quick at it, efficient at it, amazing at it. They're an expert. And this is also the case for writers and for, you know, people doing SEO. They're, you know, people that are just experts in that area because they're not having to wear 1,000 different hats. They're really good and really efficient at one thing. And I mean, the economies of scale principle from economics dictates that, you know, that is the most efficient way, is to, as a business owner, pick the core tasks, the core competencies that really are unique to you, that make you stand out, that, you know, you can't outsource getting on the phone with a client and talking to them and, you know, building that personal connection and getting them booked. That's something that you can't outsource. Like that needs to be you. Most, you know, especially if you're like a high-end wedding or elopement photographer, that's not something you can just like have your assistant do and get the same kind of results or even close. So there are tasks that, you know, that you need to be there. It has to be you as a person. So when you look at that list of tasks that you're doing week by week, there are going to be some that need to be you 100%, but there are so many, and I think so many more than most photographers realize, that don't need to be you, that could just as well, or even better, if you're really honest about it, be done by someone else, faster, more efficient, and cheaper than, you know, than you are really, you know, paying yourself to do it. So tasks that I have outsourced that I think are great candidates for outsourcing. Editing is a huge one, like I've already mentioned. Blogging is a hugely time-consuming task, both the writing side of it and, you know, picking what images from a gallery are going to be blogged, and then, you know, SEO, tagging those with your alt text and with your image titles. Sorry. Social media is super time consuming, both kind of, you know, developing a content calendar, posting, managing comments, managing direct messages. Emails are super time consuming, you know, responding to every single initial inquiry email and scheduling, getting a phone call set up, and doing a lot of the steps of a workflow. And if you guys checked out my free workflow video from the elopement photographer course, you know, you saw those like 27 steps of an elopement photography workflow. So I think there's about 8 of them or 9 of them that are like have to absolutely be done individually by me as a photographer and by Amber and Tori as a photographer. We have a full-time admin assistant because there's 3 of us, and it makes sense at that scale, that does like literally all of the rest of them, of sending questionnaires and, you know, setting up timeline meetings and these, you know, and answering those frequently asked questions. You know, we have email templates for all of that. And, you know, that has taken hours and hours and hours of time of me not being in my inbox every single week. So album design is another great one, to, you know, take a set of images and design it into an album and be able to send an album design to a client. Submitting to publications, so doing more off-page doing more off-page SEO work of getting you link backs. Managing print orders, you know, expenses and bookkeeping. You know, there's a lot of tasks are super time consuming as a photographer, and I'm not going to tell anyone individually like what you should outsource, because you need to do that exercise and make those decisions for yourself. And also think about, if you have a lot of other things on your plate, sometimes it can actually be more efficient and make more sense cost-wise to outsource non-business things, non-photography related things. Sometimes it is cheaper to hire someone to, you know, a lot of times it's probably cheaper to hire someone to mow your lawn, like that hourly rate, than, you know, to outsource SEO or something like that, because, you know, that requires like a higher level of technical expert, where you could get your next door neighbor's, you know, 15-year-old son to mow your lawn. You know, so hiring like housekeepers and like meal prep services and those kind of things that, you know, take a ton of your time, like think about that stuff too. So this video is definitely more related to the business side of outsourcing, but that is a super, super good argument. So I'm gonna jump in now and show you guys some actual real life amazing places and really good resources of where to find good help, because I think a lot of photographers are frustrated. It was just like, I know I need to hire someone to help me with blogging. I have literally no idea how. Maybe I'll post about it once in a Facebook group. I'll follow up with some of those leads, but if I don't find anyone, I feel kind of lost of where I can find someone to help. So I'm going to show you some super amazing tools, all the places that I have found great people to help me with a ton of different tasks. I'm going to show you guys all of those in a second, but really quick, I have a disclaimer of like, whatever platform you use, however you hire anyone to help you, remember that you're hiring an individual. And so if you look up some of the reviews for some hiring platforms, you know, everyone has horror stories with hiring people. Everyone has stories of paying someone money and they bailed, or they did a horrible job and they didn't get money back. You know, there's always gonna be horror stories of hiring people. It's super up to you to vet the people, to like choose people really carefully, to manage them, to do quality control, to train. You know, everyone, including me, has made mistakes in hiring before and in outsourcing things before. But I will say, on the whole, you know, 98% of the time, I have found amazing people that have really helped me succeed, and it's been such a game changer to my business. So I'm going to screen share with you guys and show a couple of great places that, you know, not every photographer may know about, that is an awesome resource to be able to find awesome help. So let me share my screen with you guys really quick. All right, share. Awesome. Okay, so this is Upwork, which if you haven't heard of it, it's a really great general place to find help for people all over the world. And so it's really well suited for kind of task-based things that are kind of on an hourly basis. And you could also start by finding someone here and then develop a great long-term relationship with them. So let me show you how this works. So basically you create an account and you can either be someone who is looking for a job or who is hiring for a job. So as a business owner, likely you are looking to hire for something. Basically, it's a huge database and resource of, you know, freelancers all over the entire world in all different kinds of categories. So let's look at what are the kind of things that you can find. So this is what it looks like if you were looking to post a job and do a job search from scratch. So let's say you needed someone to help write blog posts for you. And I'll go over some cool like workflow tips of like how to properly outsource some of these tasks later. But basically you need to put in a title, description, you know, put what kind of qualifications you're looking for that person to have, location. You can choose to promote that job posting as well, you know, pay like $2,500, not 25, sorry, $25, not $2,500. You can pay a little bit of money, 25, 50 bucks to promote it and to get even higher quality candidates to see it. You don't need to. That's the same for Upwork or Indeed, which we'll talk about in a sec. But my favorite thing with Upwork is actually just searching freelancers. This is super interesting to me. So when you search for freelancers here on Upwork, like I find this absolutely fascinating. So you click on this filters thing and you can find super cool people. So let's just, for sake of argument, say I currently have a great person who does blog writing for me, but let's say that I was looking for someone. Let's say I was looking for someone that could, you know, help me with a few blogs and write some, you know, write some articles and write some blogs for me to start off. And then I would, you know, if it went well, I would like the option to hire this person more longer term. Maybe, you know, even over time, I might want to bring them in-house if they did a super good job. So these are the kind of things that you can that you can look for. So let's look at the different categories here and see, you know, what kind of things you can hire for. It looks like, you know, Upwork, you can hire, you know, if you're looking for someone who can do web design or just do a little bit of custom coding on your site. So easy to find those people on Upwork. You know, if you're looking for copywriting or graphic design or someone to help you with admin or support or emails or bookkeeping, accounting, tracking expenses, any of it. There's so many different categories on here, so that's awesome. So let's look at writing and let's see, article and blog writing. So that's the category of person that I'm looking for. And then there's all these other super cool, cool filters. So agencies are basically, you know, bigger companies that have freelancers underneath them. So I actually usually prefer working with a freelancer directly, like that kind of individual one-on-one connection. It seems to make training and quality control a little easier than going like via a middleman with an agency. You can also pick to filter them by job success rate on Upwork. So this is super important. You can see like out of all these people, like if you choose any job success, we're looking at like 66,000 people. But if we're only going to be looking for people that have like a 90% and up success rate on Upwork, so that's a great like pre-qualifying tool. Like that knocks it down to like only 5,000 people. You can also choose by how much work have they done through Upwork. So let's say, you know, someone who has earned more than $10,000 on Upwork and had a 90% job success rate and up, like you are more likely to be finding and searching for like a high quality person. So again, I'm just searching for a freelancer at the moment, because you can also put out job postings. So my blog is in English, so I'm likely looking for a native or bilingual English speaker. Hourly rate, you know, basically my experience with blog writing is good blog writing. You can find I've found kind of a sweet spot, like 15 to 25 an hour. So this like $10 to $30 an hour category is probably accurate. You can see it's like pretty small amount of people that will do it for less than $10 an hour. So let's look for that. This is a good way. There's a question about how do you figure out what is a going rate. Searching for what task you're looking for on a site like Upwork will give you super good information of like what is a normal like hourly rate for such a task. Like you can get good information there. So you can see there's you know, you can get copywriters at any level, you know, pay someone a 30 to 60 or more than $60 an hour. You know, like depending on type of copywriting, like direct response copywriters can be like hundreds and hundreds of dollars per hour. So anyway, for blogs and articles, you know, 15 to 25 is a sweet spot. So I'm going to go for that. And let's see, I want someone that's been active super recently, let's say within the last month. And let's say like, okay, I like the idea just for sake of argument, you know, what if I want someone local? So, you know, I'm not dealing with like a time zone difference change. let's say like I would also maybe have the opportunity to meet with this person face to face. And, you know, if I wanted to be able to work with them in person and develop a longer term relationship with them, that'd be great. So I'm located in Colorado. So we're going to pick that, and let's see who pops up here. So it looks like, here we go. Here's Jen. She's $25 an hour. Aaron, $11 an hour. You know, so these are all the freelancers that, you know, and here is where they are. So these people, you know, 100% job success, 99% job success, and where they are located, Colorado. So here is, you know, a ton of different people. And I like put very stringent, recommendations on this. And I've, you know, already found still like 10 different people like super local to me that fit all those categories. And so that's awesome. If I didn't, you know, if I was looking at any US location, how many people do I have? It looks like I have almost 600 people that I could be looking for this specific task. So that's pretty amazing if you ask me. So, and so if it feels overwhelming to like search through freelancers individually, again, you can put out a job posting. So Upwork is really good for kind of hourly based tasks. You could like start by hiring someone on Upwork and then like develop a long-term relationship with them. There's a couple of other websites that are really similar, which I'm not going to go over because they're very similar, which are also like Hubstaff and Freelancer. Those are two other online platforms full of freelancers all over the world and all different kind of expertise and categories that are just ready and waiting to take stuff off of your plate at whatever hourly rate, you know, you want to set. And obviously the higher hourly rate you pay someone, like likely more or less you're going to be getting a higher quality result. But you know, you can find people for $10 an hour or less for certain tasks that could, you know, think about, would you want to be paid by someone else like $10 an hour to do something? And if not, think about like what task could you outsource for $10 an hour to get off your plate? You could be doing things that are worth more dollars per hour than that. So the next one I'm going to look at is called Handshake, which I found some really great people on Handshake. Actually, my full-time business manager I found on Handshake. And what Handshake is, it's a company that provides job boards, which is like places to post jobs specifically to universities. I have hired a lot of college students, either right out of college or while they're still in college. I think that works really well for wedding photographers because Handshake, a lot of students are looking for summer internships, which aligns fairly well with busy season as a wedding photographer. So if you want to have someone for like a, you know, 4 to 6 month like summer position, like specifically to help you get through the busiest time of your year, if you're looking for someone who's a student, you know, I found some like great, talented up and coming people that were also, you know, not as expensive as hiring someone who's, you know, been in the field for 10 years. So I've had a lot of great luck hiring college students. And so the cool thing about Handshake is that it's not publicly available. It's not like Craigslist. So essentially, in order to set this up, you know, universities are looking for, you know, quality, high quality jobs to get their students engaged with. And so, you know, as an employer, you have to set up a profile. You have to be verified by the university as a local employer, and then you get to post a job. So it's not so much good for like hourly, you know, part-time work as Upwork is, but it's great if you are looking, but if you're looking for someone for like 4 to 6 months for a summer internship, if you're looking to hire someone out of a local university specifically out of a degree program to help you with something, it's great. It's how I found Bessie, my business manager. She was coming right out of an MBA out of Colorado State University in Fort Collins. And, you know, I wouldn't have found her through asking of like, anyone know of a good admin assistant for a photography business? No, like really looking at places that I could find people. So I'm set up on Handshake in Colorado. Colorado has 5 different universities on the Handshake platform that when I put out a job posting, I can choose to send it just to CSU or to any of the other 5 universities in Fort Collins. So university job boards in general, even besides Handshake, are a super good place to find people to help you with stuff, especially if you're looking for someone who, you know, is a young go-getter, you know, super in the know maybe about social media or things like that. And also, you know, not as expensive as someone who's been doing something for 10 years. I really like hiring college students. So CSU, and you have to look at what your local university does, because this is not like an across the board, US-wide or global service, but like almost every university has its own kind of job board. So it's kind of like a handshake. It's kind of like a local version of Upwork. So it's how you can hire college students to do part-time freelance, like specific tasks for you. So if you are, if you haven't found anyone through Upwork and you want to see if there's like college students who might be local to you and available to do some of these things. So CSU, which is Colorado State University in Fort Collins, has their own job board in addition to Handshake called JobX, where you could post specific tasks. So if you wanted a college student who is maybe an English major who could write some articles for you at $10 or $12 an hour, like you might be able to find someone on a local university job board. So another great place. Indeed is another place that is a kind of US-wide job board posting. And I have hired a lot of people through Indeed, and Indeed I have generally used it for kind of more, people that I was intending on hiring and keeping long term, not so much as, just hiring for a few specific tasks. So it's how I found my first couple of part-time administration assistants who did kind of, emailing and blogging and, just kind of little odds and end tasks that I just needed help with. I needed, someone to take about 20 hours a week of different tasks off of my plate. I found a college student to do it once, and I found someone like a few years, 4 or 5 years out of high school who was like great at doing different things. So like my first couple of admin assistants, starting about 4 or 5 years ago, I found on Indeed. They are great if you're looking for someone local to assist you, not virtual, like via Upwork. It's how I found a lot of great people. You basically put out a job search and then you promote it. And it's great because instead of, you could find people on Craigslist, you could put a job posting on Craigslist. Yes, it's free. But my experience with doing that is you have to sort through so much irrelevant crap, where the thing with Indeed is you can set specific questions that like people can't even apply, or you can filter them out if they aren't local to you or they don't have at least 2 years experience and blah, blah, blah. Or, you can set different things that are like, these are the minimum requirements. So only show me resumes of people who can do these things. You can put what you want people to send to you, whether that's, work samples, in their application with their resume and their cover letter. It's great to be able to like pre-vet people. So Indeed is a super great platform. What else? Another one that I wanted to mention is called Virtual Assistants. Which is if you're looking for kind of part-time remote assistance. So let's say you don't necessarily care about needing someone local to you, but you want someone to help you with a bunch of things and you need someone part-time. It's not quite as task-oriented as Upwork. So these are freelance assistants who want to work from home, but they're looking for kind of a more long-term employer relationship. And so it's good for the kinds of tasks like, general admin stuff of like answering your emails, doing social media, booking travel for you, scheduling things, categorizing expenses, bookkeeping. So if you can think about when you do that exercise of writing out all of your tasks per week, and you can add up to like 20 hours of work, but they're not all under one category, but they're things that you could train, a competent person with a brain to do. Hiring a virtual assistant for 20 hours a week consistently, and the task can change week to week, could be super, super useful. So another cool place that I wanted to mention, because I got so many questions about outsourcing writing, and I wanted to mention a couple of cool, like interesting things that are worth testing out, but I'll put an extra disclaimer on these services is that you need to be super careful with how you outsource via these article writing and copywriting services, because you can get people sending you plagiarized work, which if you then post on your site will hurt your SEO, not help you. They can be really, really low quality if you just like go for the lowest price all the time. So just be careful with these, but these are really interesting. So I wanted to show them anyway. So basically there are things called like content creating, article writing, and blog writing services. So it's basically like on these kind of article websites, and there's so many of them. I've pulled up a list here of like article writing services and content writing services. There's so many different ones, iWriter, Text Broker, CopyPress. This one is called, oh, that's not what it's actually called. This one is, yeah, iWriter access, constant content, these kind of things. This one's called I Need Articles. And basically, you can get someone to write an entire article for you. Let's say you wanted someone to write about the 10 best wedding venues in your city. And you wanted someone to write an article about that too. You know, you said, here are the 10 venues, research, write it. You could get that done for like $13 or $15 or $20. So you could just literally pay for one article. And like, these are extremely cheap. I've heard of people who've gotten like $3 articles or $8 articles on some of these article writing sites. So you can look at I Need Articles, iWriter. There's a ton of others. Be very, very careful when you're outsourcing via these platforms. But if you want to get your feet wet and just see how interesting it is to like have someone write an entire article for you for $15 or $20, and it takes you 5 minutes to clean it up and put it on your site and blog it, like that's kind of incredible. That is amazing. Think about if you were able to do that even once a week or twice a month, like how amazing that would be. You know, if writing is something that is super difficult for you and you're not, you know, you don't feel competent at it, or it's just so time consuming, you haven't had time to do it. Some of these article writing sites can be a great resource to start with and to get your feet wet. I have found more long-term success finding someone like via Upwork or Indeed, or via a university, someone, you know, finishing up their master's in English per se, that I could work with long-term. But, you know, try it out, test it out, take $20, have someone write an article, see how it works out for you. Double check it with a plagiarism double check it with a plagiarism checker for sure, and just make sure that it's high quality before you put it on your site. But so that's super interesting. So I'm gonna go over just a few pros and cons really quick. But before I do, I'm gonna check the chat to see any questions. So if you've had questions pop up as I've been chatting, guys, let me know. And let's see, so, all right. Yes, catching up on blogging has definitely not been a priority lately. I know, it's so hard, and it's one of those things that's so easy to get pushed to the bottom of your task list. And so highly, highly, highly recommend outsourcing. This is super helpful. So if anyone else has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Thanks guys for joining in live from the Facebook group. So if you want to join my Facebook group, it's called Weddings and Wanderlust Adventure Photographers on Facebook. So a few pros and cons of like, there's many different ways that you can hire people. You can hire someone as a short-term contractor that's just task-based. You can hire like a long-term contractor, meaning someone that's not hired underneath your business. They have their own business and you are paying them per hour or per task, but you have a long-term relationship with them. That's a long-term contractor. And then there's in-house people. So hiring someone to, you know, be your person, and you are their employer and they are your employee. So there's lots of different kind of employee relationships when you're looking at hiring help and outsourcing. So there's some pros and cons here. So short-term contractors that are task-based, like the pros with these is they can be really easy and simple and fast to hire. That would be like paying someone $20 to write you an article for something. They can be cheap, but they can also be low quality if they're too cheap. You can also hire someone for a single task that is super high quality and is also very expensive. The nice thing is when you're hiring, you know, short-term contractors, they can be a huge pool of people to hire from. If you live in the US, you can hire also people from cheaper regions, you know, Eastern Europe or Southeast Asia to, you know, do different tasks for you. You know, depending on where you live in the world, you know, hiring an American could be a lot cheaper than hiring an Australian or something, so to say, because when you're hiring someone locally, if you live in a very expensive area, like the cost of living could be so high that that it could be expensive to hire someone, or there could be like minimum wage laws or those kind of things, whereas if you're hiring someone remote and freelancing, you have a huge pool of people with, you know, different kind of wage expectations to choose from. One of the cons, though, is it's not like a long-term sustainable relationship. You're just hiring random people for each different task. And over time, you might get frustrated with like needing to retrain and, you know, do everything over and over again. It might become a quality control issue, possibly. You're not in control of that person's business. They don't really have any skin in the game with you and with what you need done. And so for me, I have in general shifted away from short-term contractors. And when I outsource things, I either look for long-term contractors or people who are in-house, because there's a little more skin in the game. There's a more long-term personal relationship with that person. If you are consistently hiring someone for 10 hours a week to do the same task for you for 6 months, they become used to that amount of work, and they want to keep you happy as a client because they're a freelancer and they care about having long-term, clients. And if you have someone in-house, like, you are their job. And so like they want to keep their boss happy, they have more skin in the game. So I usually prefer long-term contractors or in-house people. Over time, I generally kind of have moved a lot away from short-term task-based things, but it's a great place to get your feet wet if you've never done this before. And it's a lot less risky. You're not committing to hiring someone and paying someone a salary long-term. So it's a great place to start. Long-term contractors are great if you have a task that you want to be having done by an efficient specialist. And it's the same thing with contractors. If they're remote to you, you have like a bigger pool of people to choose from. But again, they still are remote. You're still not entirely in control of when and where they work. You're not in control of their business, whether they go out of business or decide to just randomly drop you as a client. They have the power to do that because they're not your employee. Whereas if you have an in-house person, you kind of have more full control over their hours. That's like the legal difference between, that's one of the legal differences between a contractor and an employee is, do you have full control over their hours or not? So, so that's kind of some of the pros and cons. So real quick, I want to show you guys my super sweet spreadsheet that I made, which is kind of fun because I've talked about how the fact that the argument for outsourcing, a lot of time it just comes down to numbers, and a big number comes down to return on investment. So I'm going to share this spreadsheet in the group, and you can play around with it and see if, you can change what this task is as well. I've built this one for editing. But it's fun. So let's just go through it and how I set this up. So I set this is not necessarily numbers for me. I just thought about, where I was maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And I also just kind of, I don't know, an average standard wedding photographer possibly. So let's say you shoot 30 weddings per year. Let's say you deliver 500 images per wedding. And let's say to take a raw image from complete scratch to get it to a point where it's perfectly deliverable to a client, it takes you 2 minutes to do that per image. Let's say that it takes you 2, or if you think it takes you 1.5, this is still great for 1.5, but I'm gonna do 2 for this exercise. So if it takes you 2 minutes per image, you are delivering 500 images per wedding. That means you're spending 16 and a half hours editing every single wedding that you are shooting. So let's say the cost per image to outsource is 39 cents per image, which, like I said, currently that's like about the same rate. You can find people for 30 cents an image or 25 cents an image. You can have people for 45 cents an image. Let's do 39 for this example. So that means the cost to edit one wedding, this is nuts to me, guys. Like, it's nuts. It's less than $200 to outsource all of the editing for one entire wedding and to save yourself, those 16 hours. Maybe you need to spend one tweaking it and getting it to a point of delivery perfection once you've trained your editor. But like, that is absolutely huge. So that's what's really interesting then is then if you calculate, if you're spending 16.7 hours to edit, and yes, this is different if you don't spend that much time editing. So I'm going to give you the spreadsheet. You can play around with it, see what it works for you. I would say, like, before I got more efficient with my editing, it probably was taking me 10 to 15, hours to edit an entire 500 image wedding from scratch. So I don't think I'm too far off here, but you can let me know if you think I am. That means if you're spending 16 and a half hours per edit, it costs $195 to outsource one wedding. It means you're paying yourself $11.70 an hour to edit, which, like, if someone said, like, I'd like you to come shoot an hour of photos for me, and I'm going to pay you $11.70, like, and you hand me the memory card and like be on your way, like no other time, would you do it? Like, I certainly would not. Obviously that's not a completely accurate example, but that is so low per hour. when you kind of look at this for different tasks of like, what are you paying yourself per hour versus like the cost of outsourcing it to someone else, it's kind of shocking. So this is also super interesting. How many hours a year would you get back if you outsourced this specific task? So this is calculated by taking the number of weddings per year multiplied by the number of hours you spend editing each wedding. That's like 500 hours a year just on editing, which is nuts. And so it's really interesting to like look at these numbers and like stare them in the face and really ask yourself the tough questions. This is cool too. How many hours per month would you get back if you outsourced that specific task? So for this example, that would be 41, almost 42 hours a month. So that's, you know, more than like 11 hours per week. And so this is a kind of a judgment call on your part, but then I asked myself, how many more bookings per month? If I got 41 hours back of my time per month, how many more bookings per month could I probably make happen? If I had 40 more hours to work on SEO or Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook ads or whatever to like get more bookings or whatever that, or, you know, network or whatever that is for you, whatever, you know, off the bat is the most effective way for you to get inquiries. For me, it's SEO and Instagram are the best. You know, if I had 41 hours back per month to work on SEO and to work on Instagram, could I make one more booking happen per month? I think that's pretty obviously yes. I think you could really easily make that argument. So let's say you could make one more booking per month. And let's say that your average booking rate is $5,000. So again, you can play with these numbers yourself. I think this is fun, but I am a nerd. So that would mean that by outsourcing your editing and getting back those 500 hours a year, you could make 12 more bookings in a year, one per month for getting those 40 hours back per month. That would be a $60,000 of increased revenue per year, just by outsourcing that one task, if you think that's a good argument. The cost of outsourcing all editing per year is $5,800, which when you look at that number just by itself, you might think, oh, I cannot afford that. But you have to remember the ROI and like the opportunity cost of your time spent on tasks that could be so cheaply and easily done by someone else. And so this is the return on investment calculation, which is out of the, you know, if you take the increased revenue per year divided by the cost to outsource, that's your ROI. That's the return on investment. It's more than 10 times the return on investment. If someone told you, hey, if you pay me $10, I will give you $100 back, how many people would take that deal? Like that's what a 10-time return on investment means. You investing $5,800 a year could, in this argument, in this exercise, if these numbers are accurate for you, result in an extra $60,000 of revenue per year. Yes, there's expenses to doing that. Yes, there's time. Do you want to make 12 more bookings? Obviously, those are all important questions to ask yourself. But I find this spreadsheet and this exercise really interesting because it can really bring to the forefront, like, yes, there's a cost to outsourcing, but there's also a huge cost to not outsourcing. And that opportunity cost, I think a lot of small business owners and photographers miss. And I missed it for a long time. I missed this argument. I didn't get this. And so that's why I'm excited to share about it. So few more things I'm going to go over, just some like workflow and management tips for outsourcing, some like good hacks that I've found that have really helped me efficiently outsource some common tasks, and then I'll look at the questions that you guys have. So culling and editing, a cool thing. I'm going to switch back and stop sharing my screen. Okay, so for culling and editing, if you use Lightroom, and if you don't know this already, there's a really cool thing called smart catalogs and like not smart catalogs, catalogs and smart previews. So what that means is if you're like, how in the world would I send 500 raw images to an editor for them to edit them for me? Cool thing is if you're using Lightroom, let's say you've imported those 500 photos into Lightroom, you then select all of them, do file, export as catalog, and make sure that you check previews and smart previews and export that catalog. You can leave the original RAWs unchecked. You don't need to export the catalog with the original RAWs. And what Lightroom will do is it will essentially create 500 kind of mini raw images. They're not really raw images. They're lower resolution. I think they're only about 2,500 pixels. But that's all that you need really to edit, to get lighting and color and contrast and skin tones consistent. And what it will do is it will like create a catalog, and you just zip that folder, and it has like the Lightroom catalog in it, which is like where the editing information is. It has a preview file and a smart preview file, which will give your editor essentially all of the information, all the data that they need to when they open the catalog, it will appear to them. It like smart previews are so close, they're almost identical to raw files. Like you can only tell if you zoom in that it's not a full resolution raw file. They can edit that for you. And that file is less than a gigabyte for like a 500 image wedding. And you can send that for free via WeTransfer, upload it into Dropbox or Google Drive. And you, instead of sending, you don't have to send 500 raw images around to get someone to edit for you, you can use smart previews. So that's a super good trick. Blog writing. So I have found the absolute best workflow for me for outsourcing blogs, which is hard. If you just, tell someone, hey, I need you to write a blog for me. That's not very much information to go off of. And what you get back is not necessarily going to, sorry, I had allergies, guys, excuse me. And the quality of what you get back is only, going to be as good as like the training and the information that you can give to that person in the first place. And what I have found is like the fastest, most efficient way to outsource blogging is what I do. When I drive home from every single elopement, because it's very unlikely that I have zero drive from an elopement. I almost always have to drive from where we ended to where I'm staying for the night, or back to my house, or back to my hotel, whatever. And so I always have a little bit of time, and I just shot the elopement. It is fresh in my mind, the whole story, how the whole day went, all the feelings, all the emotions. Yes, I'm usually really tired, but what I'll do is I'll pull out my phone and I'll turn it onto voice memos or a voice recorder, whatever. There's so many free apps for it. And I will just talk to my phone for 5 to 10 minutes. I will just stream of consciousness, verbal vomit, just go through the timeline of everything that happened and just say every single detail that I can remember. Oh yeah, we ran into an elk on the trailhead, and then, we got to the top, like it was kind of cloudy. We weren't really sure if the sunrise was going to happen, but then it did. And there was this amazing alpenglow and blah, blah, blah. And then there was this rainbow that popped out, and just whatever, all the little details that I can remember from the entire day. I spend 5 to 10 minutes talking to my phone. I send that to my blogger. It's been amazing. I've been able to get like first drafts of blog posts back that are literally perfect, ready to be published, that are in my own voice, have all of the actual information that, happened on that day. It sounds just like I wrote it. And, it took a couple of back and forth, like the first 2 or 3 times that I did this with my current blogger, but it's been amazing. I literally spend 5 to 10 minutes now writing a 1,200, 1,500 word descriptive, beautiful blog post. Like that's amazing. That's game changing right there for your blog. You can do that on like wedding stories, elopement stories, or if you have something else that you want to talk about on your blog, do the same thing. So I pull out my phone all the time and send voice memos to my blogger. You can also do this if you are shy about talking to your phone for whatever reason. You can write an outline. So you can say, here is the information that I want in this. Here's some, and you need to, in order for someone to write effectively for you, giving them as much detailed, specific information as possible. They can wordsmith it. They can turn it into a story. They are a great writer. That's what they're good at. But they need real information in order to get a good result from a copywriter. So that's helped a ton. For uploading images to a blog and SEO tagging them with my keywords, in the alt text and in the file name, which if you're not doing that for your blogs, you probably should start. And so knowing, basically I've trained a lot of different people to do this. So it's currently being done by my current blogger. But in the past, I've trained like 3 or 4 different college students over the last 6 years to do this for me. It's super easy. Like SEO, like on page as SEO is not that complicated. It's just time consuming. And that's another thing that makes it a great candidate for outsourcing, is being able to say, these are the keywords for this, this is like the main keyword that I'm optimizing for this blog post. This is how to write, good alt text and file names. This is what I want them to be named by. Here are my highlights, my selects from this wedding. Pick 50 of them, that tell a story, put it in here, and tag everything. That can take you hours possibly to do on your own, or you might just skip the SEOing part. It's something that's super easy to outsource if you just train someone. So that's something that I have done before. Outsourcing social media. So the easiest things to outsource with social media are things like responding to comments, direct messages. If you get a lot of inquiries via, a Facebook Messenger or a business page or Instagram, you just, if you pretty much reply to those people with the same information every time, give that template to someone and outsource it and say like, hey, just like tell them all to fill out my contact form. Then we're good. Or here's how you work on scheduling a call with them and me to get them booked. Or this is the information that you send them. Great, do it. Super easy. That does not have to be you. With social media, you can also really well outsource someone helping you create a content calendar. So if you're like, hey, I know I have a lot of great images to post and I have some ideas for captions, but having someone organize it for you and give you a plan of like, these are the days of the week that you're going to post, like, that's something that so many people are super good at and could help you with and could like really be a game changer of you actually getting the content you want to post on social media online. So emails are another amazing thing to outsource. Think about all the times that you're answering the same questions via email. Think about all the times that you are spending time sending emails to people who haven't even booked, who haven't booked you yet. So, I did a whole free video on what initial email responses should look like, and how they need to be personalized. But personalizing is not rocket science, guys. It really isn't. Like, I have Bessie, my admin assistant, personalize initial email responses for me that go to a person like in their initial email. Of course, it's me who gets on the phone with them and develops a relationship with them, but I have like blurbs for, okay, if someone inquires about Alaska, let me tell all the things I love about Alaska and my experience there last August photographing an elopement and all the cool places I know about to photograph in Alaska. So you can take that, add that to an initial email inquiry response, send it off to the couple within an hour of them sending me an inquiry while I'm on an airplane or completely out of service. I can be responding to initial emails immediately because I outsource. And how many more bookings a year am I getting because of that? Because I am doing that faster than another photographer who won't get to it till the next day because they're out of service. And so outsourcing, yes, there's a cost to it, but don't forget there's a cost to not outsourcing, guys. So emails are super great. The last tips that I wanted to give as kind of parting words are, remember when you're hiring people to do things for you, they are people just like you, and just don't expect it to be perfect the first time. Taking the time to do training and feedback is so, so important. That discouraged me with outsourcing. If you just send someone a gallery of yours to edit and expect it to come back 100% exactly how you would edit it the first time, you're going to be frustrated with outsourcing. That's not reality, guys. Like, that's not how you be a smart outsourcer. Like, of course, if you've done this with 10 galleries and take the time to train them and they're not getting any closer, then yeah, they're probably not the right editor for you. That's a huge bummer. That's never happened to me though. If I were really honest about it, if I really consistently take the time to give kind, gentle criticism and constructive feedback to someone, if they have the qualifications, like if they're a good editor, like we get there. We absolutely get there, whether that's for writing or something else. So, really taking the time to train people and be feedback, be kind, remember that they're human beings. Second kind of parting words here is like outsource before it becomes an emergency situation. Be proactive with your outsourcing. Don't wait till you get in a deep, dark hole and you're just buried under piles of work before you realize like how important it is to be proactive with outsourcing. And the last tip is to really always think about that return on investment. So I'm going to share that spreadsheet with you. You can play around with it. You can change it for a different type of task. So those 2 exercises of go through an entire week, list your tasks, and then play around with this spreadsheet and see what the ROI could be for you, what return on investment it could be for you for outsourcing. A really good question to ask yourself. I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet for one more second because this is so important and poignant. So we looked at this, like the cost to outsource. If you're shooting 30 weddings per year at 500 images per wedding, and you can outsource for 39 cents an image, the cost of outsourcing for an entire year is $5,800. Look again at what this photographer's average booking rate was. It's $5,000. So that's almost the same amount of money. Yes, it's a little bit more, but what's interesting, another really good argument to think is like, yes, calculate your return on investment, but 2, think, like, would this result in 1 more booking per year? Would I at least not lose money on this investment? If you think about how many hours this photographer is getting back per year. 500 hours. Let's say it was only half that. Let's say they only spent one minute editing each photo, and like, let's say editing only took them 8 hours per wedding. They would still be getting 250 hours back per year. It would still only be costing them $5,800 to outsource it. So if they just booked one more wedding at $5,000, it would pay for their editing for their entire year. So that's another super good question when you're thinking about what you should outsource. Would this result in me getting one more booking per year? And then would that pay for the cost of all this outsourcing? So that is another super good argument. And it's like, if you just booked one more wedding per year to pay for getting 500 hours of your life back a year, even if you didn't use it to book anything else, if you use it to spend time with your family or go on vacation or whatever, like, outsourcing is amazing, guys. That is the point of this whole live video. So any other questions? Let's see. Yes. Cool. I answered that question about editing. I'm going to check really quick. Sweet. Yes, Monica. So smart previews are like mini RAW files. So when you're outsourcing editing, instead of sending the RAW files, you send this one file that's called smart previews, and that has like essentially almost like mini RAW files for the entire gallery in it. Cool. So, and your other question was, how would you send your base presets to the person who will edit for you? You will send the preset file. So each of those presets like is a file. You can find it actually on your computer. If you go kind of in the show Lightroom presets folder in Lightroom, you'll be able to see it, and you can send that person your presets. The other thing you could do is just pre-edit a few photos in the gallery with your preset, and then they would be already getting it when you send them the catalog and the smart preview file. So great questions, guys. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining live. I hope this helped you learn a little bit more of like how to effectively hire help and outsource. I'm really excited for you guys. Like, hopefully this really helps you grow and scale your business and get more of your life back, and also have the time to do the things that you know are going to help you make your business successful. Super excited for you. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much. Bye.